LNG Fact Check is devoted to setting the record straight regarding the safety, environmental, and economic impacts of liquefied natural gas and Weaver's Cove Energy's proposed offshore berth in Mount Hope Bay and onshore LNG storage facility in Fall River. Weaver's Cove has observed Mr. Jonathan Stone making statements about our project that we do not agree with and that do not mesh with the facts as we know them. This video is intended to present the facts with regards to statements made by Mr. Stone in recent public forums. Mr. Stone suggests that the Coast Guard will require Weaver's Cove to use private security forces.
One other thing I failed to mention and related to the transit of the vessels is that it is highly likely that the U.S. Coast Guard will not be protecting these vessels. It will be a private contractor paid for by the company, Blackwater or some other entity.
Not true, Mr. Stone. The Coast Guard has clearly and unequivocally addressed the issue of the use of private security services. Quote, "There are no plans to require LNG vessels to hire additional security." We challenge Mr. Stone to substantiate his suggestion that the Coast Guard has ever or has any future plans to use private security firms to provide safety and security for any vessel calling at any port in the nation. We believe this is simply urban myth, and we believe this myth is being perpetuated by Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone suggests that when LNG ships transit the narrow portions of the East Passage, all boats will be cleared out of the bay.
And the narrow parts of the East Passage are less than a mile wide. So basically all boats will be cleared out of the bay, stand down where they are, move to the shore, and wait for these vessels to pass.
Mr. Stone's claim is not supported by fact and runs counter to observed practice. As shown in this aerial photo, the narrowest portion of the LNG transit route through the East Passage near Castle Hill is approximately 0.6 miles wide. This photo shows an LNG ship transiting Boston Harbor during the summer of 2009. The photo was taken from the shoreline near Logan Airport looking south across Boston Harbor. At this location, the harbor is actually narrower than the Castle Hill segment of the East Passage shown in the prior photo. Despite Mr. Stone's sensational claims about what would happen in Narragansett Bay, no such scenario occurs in Boston Harbor. Sailboats are not clear from the area, and all activity does not come to a halt. There is no credible reason to believe that the situation would be any different in the East Passage. Mr. Stone suggests bridge closures will cause up to a 40-minute delay.
The last thing I'd mention is that the Rhode Island Turnpike and Bridge Authority operates the Pell Bridge here and the Mount Hope Bridge here. And the authority has said, they stated this publicly last week up on Smith Hill at the Capitol, that they will close the bridges for the transit of these vessels for safety reasons. So that is to say, both bridges will be closed at least 70 times, more likely 140 times a year, for 30 to 40 minutes.
Mr. Stone is again playing to urban myth. There is absolutely no factual evidence supporting the claim that the bridges will be closed for up to 40 minutes. In arriving at his 40-minute closure estimate, it appears that Mr. Stone has made some assumptions that are inconsistent with how safety and security zones are implemented on Narragansett Bay. To provide perspective, this photo of an LPG vessel transiting under the Newport Pell Bridge on March 23rd shows traffic resuming on the bridge when the bow of the LPG ship is roughly even with the green buoy, which is only 1,200 feet from the bridge. The March 23rd shipment caused the Newport Bridge to be closed for only 12 minutes. Mr. Stone also fails to mention that the Coast Guard has stated that, quote, security zones would be generally established and enforced only on inbound transits when an LNG tanker is loaded with cargo. Mr. Stone suggests that LNG ships will arrive unannounced.
These vessels, by the way, as they enter Narragansett Bay, will not be announced. The company claims that there will be official announcements 1 hour before to the general public.
Mr. Stone has the facts wrong. When asked by a prominent Rhode Island policy group how much notice state and local officials would receive, the Coast Guard response was clear. As is our current practice for LPG vessel arrivals, the Coast Guard will notify our federal, state, and local stakeholder officials of LNG deliveries as we become aware of the arrival schedule, which is at least 96 hours before each vessel's arrival. Mr. Stone suggests that the presence of LNG ships will cause regatta organizers to avoid the bay.
If you're operating regattas, every summer I'm told there are 47 regattas in Newport. And these are many of these are major international regattas. Organizers of regattas like the America's Cup and the Volvo Challenge are not going to locate here if they can't be absolutely confident that they can run their regatta when they want to run the regatta.
Mr. Stone's claim has no basis in fact. LNG shipping coexists with recreational and competitive sailing throughout the world and will not deter sailing activities in and around Narragansett Bay. The Barcelona Olympic yachting events were based in Barcelona Harbor, home to the largest LNG terminal in Spain. Just up the road from Newport, Boston has hosted the Volvo Round the World Ocean Race, the BT Challenge Cup, and numerous tall ships events, despite being home to the busiest LNG terminal in the country. Mr. Stone also raises the specter of LNG ships impacting Rhode Island's ability to attract the America's Cup. Had Mr. Stone checked into the most rudimentary facts, he could have learned that the Sagunto LNG terminal is located roughly 14 miles from Valencia, Spain, the site of both the 2007 and 2010 America's Cup races. The terminal is also located within the official race area. By comparison, the Weaver's Cove LNG facility would be located more than 20 miles from the race area in Rhode Island Sound. Mr. Stone speculates that LNG will reduce Newport's chances of securing the right to host the next America's Cup. But if that is the case, how is it possible that Valencia managed to host not one, but 2 America's Cup competitions? And we would note that Iberdrola and Endesa, Spanish energy companies that own the Sagunto terminal, were among the largest private sponsors of the event. That's right. The companies that rely on the LNG terminal played a major role in making the America's Cup a success. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. LNG Fact Check will continue to set the record straight. More videos are on the way.